Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Queenie for those who don't know me, and I have gotten the DMs. I've seen the messages, I've seen the tags, okay? There has been a story going around about Jeremy. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. It does include domestic violence. So the reason why I've been dragging my feet talking about it is because with claims as serious as this, I wanted to wait until Jeremy had said something, and as of today, Jeremy has spoken out. So we're gonna get into her side, his side. There are three sides to every story, so we don't know the truth, but I felt it was only fair to bring both perspectives into the equation and not just the person who's alleging what Jeremy did to them. So before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe and hit the bell, and leave a comment down below. If your comment is about Married at First Sight, I know it's gonna be another bulk video. I'm so sorry, but it'll be dropping tomorrow sometime early afternoon, okay? Let's just quickly talk about the couples who we've been seeing together, because you guys are probably gonna ask me to talk about that too. So there was some kind of law going around that had a woman's hand in it. People assume that it is AD's hand, as if that's the only Black woman that Clay knows. But yeah, I can't confirm or deny if that is her hand. What I can say is that one of Clay's exes, allegedly, has been speaking out on social media. So I'm going to include Storytime with Ricky's coverage of that situation.
Now, Clay's alleged ex of 3 years was popping off on Instagram in the comment section. Let's read what she had to say. This is her right here. Girl, Clay is a liar. He has hella hoes before this show and after. Wasted 3 years of my life. I can't do nothing but crack up at all the people who really don't know him. This was all for TV, child. Somebody asked, is that your man? She said, not anymore. He needs severe help. She said, girl, I cussed him out like a dirty dog. Sad part is I was really in love with him, but I prayed about it and God revealed it. My angels don't play about me. I'm too solid for that mess. He's literally delusional. You have no idea just how trash he is. His face card will never save him. He's so mean and bitter to women. It's insane. She says, I'm so glad y'all really have no idea. He's so good at lying. Had me thinking I was crazy. I'm so happy to leave him alone. He's never going to find nothing good because he breaks every good woman's heart. Pity to that man. Says in the comments, I wish I would have known way sooner. I finally cut him off a couple of months ago and boom, this happened. Then someone told me this actually filmed earlier last year and I'm just like, what the fuck? But God was giving me signs and I keep asking him about stuff. He just keeps lying. It's truly sad how he is. I don't even hate him anymore. I just wish he gets help because he's got major issues that only God can fix. Hope he finds healing, to be honest, and no other woman who keeps enabling his behavior because I wasn't having it. So she was saying a lot. He likes overly sexual women with low self-esteem. That's truly his type. He's not ready for a real woman at all. I wish him or anybody he know would at me. I'm gonna go straight in. I did DM this girl. So it just looks like she was responding to comments about Clay. So here's something else she said, and also this. So what she told me in our DMs is that her and Clay met and dated in 2020 and she cut him off in October of 2023. So that would mean Love is Blind filmed in March through May of 2023. That would mean that they were still in contact, allegedly, post filming. Now, I did ask her for text screenshots, photos, pictures. I asked her when's the last time she's seen Clay. She said that she deleted a lot of the information because she was so pissed at him and over him. Now, if you check her page, Clay has liked a significant amount of her pictures, so she definitely knows him. She basically told me that throughout the course of their relationship that Clay was a massive piece of shit and she caught him cheating with multiple women. She shared several other women that she caught Clay dating that could potentially overlap with a relationship with AD if he did in fact date AD post filming. So I reached out to them as well and we'll see what comes of that.
Then we saw Chelsea and Jimmy. Honey, they are all over the place. They are on a tour.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no.
Honestly, these two being together, I was thinking, are they still together or at least trying to work something out? I don't know. We know it was filmed like over a year ago, so I don't think it would be trying to work something out. Unless maybe watching it back made them nostalgic. I don't know, whatever. Point is, they were seen together. I didn't think this was publicity until I saw these two. This is the point where I was like, okay, this is definitely promo. Promo for the reunion, because ain't no way. Ain't no way. But anyways, let's get to the meat of the matter, okay? Like I said, trigger warning, this does include domestic violence. There has been a lady on TikTok. Her name is Margaret. Her name is definitely Meredith. I think her name is Margaret. She's going to introduce herself anyways. But yeah, she's been speaking out about things that allegedly happened to her regarding Jeremey. We're going to talk about that and talk about Jeremy's response to that. For those who would want a summarized version, I have included this TikTok as well, which is a summary of parts 1 to 3. However, the full spiel coming from Meredith will be included in this video. I'll also add a timestamp for when Jeremey starts his story in case you don't want to watch her whole explanation.
For the intents and purposes of this video, I'm going to be using the name Jeremey that she uses throughout the entire series of her videos. An important point of this entire story is just the escalation of DV and some of the things that we see that allow people who have the knowledge to know that this is going to get worse. So they met each other in Florida at Jeremey's supplement store, and she was basically coming in for her supplements and eventually ended up doing a booth for Jeremey at the gym. This led to a connection and they started dating. Very early in their relationship though, the friend that she was staying with in Florida was going to have their house foreclosed on. So she knew she had 30 days to decide whether she was going to live on her own or stay with Jeremey. They ended up deciding that she was going to move in with Jeremey. This is where things started to get worse. Once she moves in with Jeremey, her brother comes and visits them in Florida with his girlfriend. While there, they go to a bar, and she goes to the bar to get drinks for them. While standing there, she talks to another patron, which turns into Jeremey coming up, getting very angry, and suggesting that they leave. Actually, he left them. When they all arrive at home, this turns into an all-night argument, with the issue being that she stood there and talked to him for too long. So already we're seeing the control. In the morning, her brother and his girlfriend leave because they're like, this is uncomfortable, you guys have issues. He also ended up punching a hole in the wall, which is significant the night before, and that is also physical intimidation, destroying something right in front of somebody, giving them the impression that that could have been them. In the morning, they talk, and things are seemingly fine for a brief period of time. A couple months go by and they get into another fight. After this fight, she has no family in Florida and doesn't want to be with Jeremey. So she goes to Jeremey's stepmother's house and goes there. They have a glass of wine. She ends up staying the night. But halfway through that first glass of wine, here comes Jeremey demanding that she comes home. And the stepmom eventually tells him, go home. You're out of pocket. You need to leave. This, you see the control escalate even further because, mind you, she's safe at a family member's house, and this is still disrupting because she's not just with him. In the morning, they go home, and she feels bad, like women always do. They have a conversation, and Jeremey decides that they should leave Florida and gets an opportunity in Charlotte, North Carolina. Despite the arguing, she didn't want to give up on the relationship yet, so she goes with Jeremey to North Carolina. They live together. She has a job in sales, which requires occasional meetings, going to the bar with clients, staff members, and having a couple of cocktails. One night, she stays out for cocktails a little bit longer than Jeremey would like, and he actually shows up to the bar and restaurant asking what she's doing and demanding that she leaves. She goes home. It first starts with silent treatment, then gets to arguing, then escalates, and then is described to be in the master bedroom, and she tries to separate herself and go to another room. Then Jeremey blocks the door from closing, trigger warning, pushes the door open, and points a shun in her face. She's shocked, crying. He drops that for a moment. She proceeds to leave, call 911, and tell them that she doesn't know where to go. She's running away from him. This is where the series has ended, but as you see, it's an escalation the entire time. It's important to say these are just allegations, but they're serious ones.
I'd like to first say that this story is going to be some very, very serious tea on one of this season's contestants of Love is Blind season 6 on Netflix. The person that I am discussing in this, let's call them Jeremey. So, I would like to start off by first saying trigger warning. We are going to be discussing domestic violence, and if that is a trigger for you, please don't watch this video. Secondly, I'd like to give a disclaimer. I am not here to say that this person is like this to this day. I am only here to say that this is my personal experience with this individual. So, having said that, if you can't already tell by my page, I'm not really a content creator. And so to put something like this, that is this deep and personal, on a platform like this is very daunting, and it took me a lot of time to consider doing. But I am here to tell my side of this story in hopes that it encourages others to do the same. So, I ask that you please take this with grace and with kindness, and please remember that I am a human at the end of the day. Just be kind, not just to me, but to everyone. So let's get into how I know this person. So I met Jeremey back in late 2013, early 2014. At this time, I was actually competing in bodybuilding for my pro card. I was taking a line of supplements from a guy that I was seeing down in Port Charlotte, Florida. We ended up splitting up, so I was on the hunt for the same supplement line in Sarasota, and that is when I stumbled across Jeremey's store that he owned at the time. I go in, I find out he has all the supplements I need, I'm excited, I end up buying some stuff, and I start making it my regular place. I start coming in pretty regularly, and then I start seeing him around the gym, and he goes, "Hey, would you ever be interested in running a booth for me and talking about the supplements, handing out samples at the gym?" I said, "Sure, absolutely." I was looking to make a little extra money. I was bartending at the time, so I had tons of time during the day. And then I worked, then, a few months pass, and he goes, "Hey, would you like to, work part-time in the store?" And I was like, "Sure." So the more time we ended up spending together, the more we ended up liking each other. So this wasn't something that was like love at first sight. This is something that kind of took time to build up, a few months really, and the more time we spent together, the more we liked each other, and we started dating. I started staying at his house more and more, and my current living situation that I was in, I was renting from a friend whose house was going into foreclosure, and I knew this. So I just knew that when the time came, I was going to have 30 days to get out of Dodge, and was going to have to quickly find somewhere to go. So at the time, I, of course, timely, the notice comes through that the foreclosure is going to be happening, and I have to be out in 30 days. At this point, we hadn't been dating for very long, so we were kind of on the fence of, do I get my own place and sign a lease somewhere, or do I move in with you? And ultimately, we decided to move in. I move in with him. So first few months, great. Getting used to somebody. You're still in that like honeymoon phase, right? So the first few months are really good. And then the bickering started. So the first fight that was probably the worst was when my brother came to visit. I left off by saying that Jeremey and I had moved in together, and we had been living together for a little while. My brother was coming to visit. So I was super excited. My brother has never visited me in Florida, and he had a new girlfriend, and I was super excited to meet her. So they came down when I was living with Jeremey, and one night we decided to go out to a karaoke bar. So I had been to this bar quite a few times, and I know quite a few of the patrons there. So we get in there, and I go to the bar to get us some drinks, and I'm there for a while waiting for the drinks. They're pretty busy in there, always. So I go in, and I get the drinks, and I'm waiting at the bar, and I'm just chit-chatting with the guy next to me, one of the other patrons that's there pretty regularly, and Jeremey comes up, and he's visibly upset, And he's upset that I'm talking to this guy for so long. And in my mind, I'm thinking I'm just being friendly. I know this person, but he was upset about this, y'all. Like, so much so that he left us at the bar. And this is before Uber and before Lyft. So we had to call a cab to get home. We end up getting home and all hell breaks loose. We get into the bedroom and fighting starts immediately. And it escalates to the point that he actually puts his fist through the wall. And I'm a little taken back because this person, if you know this person from the show, you would not think that they would be like this, especially if you know them in real life. Like, when I tell you, I have never seen someone snap and just flip like that to a totally different person. Y'all, it was like something I've never seen before. And the rage was terrifying. So I ended up sleeping out in the living room that night. The next morning, I am mortified because obviously my brother is in the next room. So he's hearing all of this. I am so embarrassed. And they end up leaving the next day. So obviously things are tense in the morning. They leave. We sit down and talk things out. And we work out a solution of how we're going to avoid this happening again in the future. And a few months go by and things are pretty good. And then another fight breaks out. And this time it escalates to where I'm walking away. I'm trying to get away. And he's just following me around the house, in and out of different rooms. I'm shutting bedroom doors and he's banging on them, trying to get in. And I'm finally like, I'm just going to leave the house. Now, I have zero family where I live. And so I ended up calling his stepmother. And I explained to her what was going on. And I was like, I need somewhere to go. So she's like, girl, come on over. I got you. So I go to her house. This whole time, he is blowing my phone up. It won't stop. So I finally get to her house. I get inside. She pours me a glass of wine. We sit down and I start going over what's happened. And my phone is still blowing up. And then he shows up at the house. He is pounding on the door. Let me in. Let me talk to her. I want to talk to her. And she's like, his stepmom goes and answers the door. She goes, she does not want to speak to you right now. You are too much right now. You need to leave. You know where she is. You know she is safe. She's having a glass of wine with me in the living room. She's going to stay the night here. You need to go home. So finally, he leaves. And I'm torn because I'm like, I love this guy. Like, I don't know what to do. And I'm literally asking his family. I'm like, you know him. What do I do? And I think even they were a little like, they weren't surprised, but they also didn't offer me really any advice. So he leaves her house. I stay the night. I end up going home the next morning. We sit down, we talk things out. We figured out that, maybe we start over somewhere new. Maybe we leave Florida. We start looking at different places, talk about Tennessee, North Carolina, and he starts looking at jobs. Now, I was skeptical because I never really wanted to leave Florida. I always loved it here. I always wanted to be here. But it was either go with him or end the relationship, and I wasn't really ready to do that yet. So I decided to go with him. And he ended up finding a job in Charlotte. So his job actually started before mine did. And so he actually went up first, and then I followed up after with the U-Haul and everything. So we ended up getting a house in Concord initially. And my office was all the way in Ballantyne. So if you know the area of Charlotte, then you know that's a really long drive. I did it for a few months, and then it really started to wear on me. So we broke that lease and ended up moving into a condo closer to Uptown. When we got into the condo, at first things were pretty good. I had two sisters that had weddings. He went with me to both of those, in those time frames between the two houses. So I was hopeful that things were going to be better in a new place. And then I started to stay, with my job being in sales, it was very social. So it was a bullpen style sales environment. And so when work got out, we would all go down the street, have a cocktail, and then go home, right? So one night I go out and I'm staying out a little later than I normally do because I had gotten off work a little later, and he knew where I was. I told him what I was doing. He shows up at this restaurant, storms in, and is like, what are you still doing here? I'm sorry. I'm here just finishing up with some friends. Like, I'll be home in a little bit. What's up? Like, I thought you were at home. He's like, yeah, but I think you should come home now. I'm like, okay. Is there something wrong? Like, no, I just think like, it's getting late. Like, you should be home. I'm going, well, I will be home when I'm done here. I promise. Like, I'll come home. I promise. And he's visibly angry and storms out of this restaurant. So I finish up what I'm doing and I leave and I go home. When I get home, he is ignoring me, won't talk to me. And at this point, I'm kind of like, whatever. So I don't press it. And then a few hours go by and I'm finally like, yeah, he's still silent treatment. So I'm like, do you want to talk about this? And it starts off at a conversation like it should. And then it escalates to an argument. And then it escalates to yelling and shouting. And at this point, the argument had moved upstairs into our master bedroom. I realized quickly we're not getting anywhere with this argument. And I just want out. So I go to leave. I go around, and I wasn't leaving the house. I was just going into the spare bedroom, which is around the corner. I turn the corner, I go around into the spare bedroom, and I go to close the door. He stops it. I can't close the door. I go to back up a little bit, and he flings the door open. The next thing I know, there is a pew-pew pointed at my face. And guys, this is really hard to relive, so bear with me here. I don't remember exactly what he said in that moment. I was so just in shock. I literally thought my life was about to be over. I didn't know what, I didn't think he would be capable of. Guys, never in a million years would I think that this person would have done this to me. Okay? Never. And so he lowered the pew-pew and I was able to run. And thank the Lord, I had my phone in my hand. I was able to run out of the house. I had 911 on the phone. As I was running, and all I can think about is get away from this property. Get away from this property. So I start running as fast as I can. And I speed behind some bushes and I start running up behind the back end of our condo complex. And I'm freaking out. I'm crying. I tell them, I don't know. I left the property. I'm not near him. I don't know where he is. I think he's still there. And all this, I stay down the street for what felt like forever. And it was so cold. I was literally hiding in the bushes in my pajamas. And I finally hear the sirens and I can see the lights. And so the lady on the phone with me is like, hey, I think they're there. If they're there, let's go. We can hang up. And if he's not at the property, can you please go to the property? So I look and his vehicle's not out front. So I walk back up to the property and I see the police out front. The first thing they do is they go, ma'am, So I come walking back up to the house. I'm still on the phone with the dispatcher. I look and see that the vehicle's not there. So she instructs me to go back to the house. I go back up and I meet with the police officers. I hang up with her. And they asked me, ma'am, do we have your permission to search the property? I said, yes. And they go, is there anything that we need to know about beforehand that we're going to find? I said, I know he has some pew-pews, obviously. That's why you guys are here. And so I said, but other than that, no, nothing. So they searched the entire property. Meanwhile, I start giving my statement to the officer that I'm talking to. And I'm walking them through, kind of what had happened. And I go upstairs because I'm trying to explain to kind of where we were and what happened. And I'm pretty much almost done with my statement at this point. And the officers, a few different times in a few different ways, kept asking me the same question where they were like, does he have any kind of tactical or military training experience? And I'm like, no, not to my knowledge. And they're like, well, is he a drug dealer? I was like, not to my knowledge. I mean, you guys just searched the house. If he was, I'm sure you'd find something. So, and I'm like, but why would you be asking me that? And they're like, well, the way that we found the pew-pews positioned around the house were indicative of someone with that kind of background or training. Like, I think one of them they found was behind the couch in the living room. And another one was like behind a toilet in a spare bathroom. Like, how did I not even know that was there? I feel really dumb not having known that that was there. I had no idea he had this many pew-pews, guys, when they gave me the list of what they found. I was astounded. And so we end up going upstairs because I'm trying to show them exactly what happened and where in the house. And I'm pretty much done with my statement at this point. And all of a sudden, I just hear yelling, like hollering. And I can't make out what they're saying. And the officer that I'm speaking with, mid-sentence, just darts past me, like pushes past me, darts all the way down the stairs and out front. I'm kind of stunned, so I'm like, what the heck is happening? So I go outside. I go down the stairs to go outside to figure out what is everyone yelling about. And I get stopped by an officer at the door saying, ma'am, don't go out there. He's here. Y'all, he came back. He showed back up at the house. And so they immediately have pew-pews drawn onto him. They are like, get out of the car with your hands up. Get on the ground. Get out. Like, they are cuff, y'all. They cuffed him. They put him in the back of the cruiser. And they come to me and they're like, okay, ma'am, what do you want to do? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, do you want to press charges? And in that moment, I didn't know. I was like, well, what would the charges be?
So this is actually where the story ends, according to Miss Meredith or Ginger Snaps. I'm going to include a little clip of me going over to Reddit and tell you what I found over there before we head over to Jeremy's side of the story. It seems like a person has been trying to contact both Jeremey and, what did I say her name was? Meredith? Margaret? And the lady, okay? Y'all know I'm not good with names, please. So I'm just gonna read what they said here. We have had multiple users try to post this woman's story over the last few weeks as she's been releasing bits of the story over the last 6 days or so. Unfortunately, after reaching out to verify her story, as there was nothing but her word at the time to go off of, she refused to provide anything and told us to wait for the next episode and insinuated proof would be provided. The next episode, the reunion, has yet to drop, but with Jeremy's response, we at least have verification he knows this woman and was in a relationship with her. So it's only fair to everyone to have both sides of the story, which I agree with. I felt like, hey, if we're going to bring up such strong allegations, I would love to have his response as well before we actually talk about it. But she's claiming she's going to have receipts. I don't know.
So I'm a pretty fun, lighthearted person in general. However, this is not a laughing matter. We're going to go ahead and talk about these gun accusations that have been thrown my way by a Miss Meredith Walsh. And we're going to throw some challenges, to say the least, at this story. So let's go ahead and dive into it. I didn't watch all of the videos in pure detail, only because I already know what's going to be said. This isn't the first time I've heard this. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. It's not going to be a 6, 7, 14-part video like the other ones have been. We're just going to go ahead and knock it out in one. So 1, we're going to go ahead and address the false accusations. Yes, I was falsely accused in 2016. 2, why? I wish I knew why. To this day, I still don't know why. The only thing that I can think of is the night that this all happened, I had discovered that she was actually going around behind my back and seeing someone else. Something that I had long suspected was happening. So was able to get confirmation that night. None of this story happened. This just isn't a thing. So let's continue to go down the little rabbit trail here. So 1, let's address the whole police situation. Me being held at gunpoint, being placed in a cop car. None of this happened. The way something like that would happen is if I'm held at gunpoint, I'm placed in a cop car. Don't you think that there would be a police report over something like that? Something that serious. Don't you think there would be a police report for that? There is no police report. Yes, you did falsely accuse me of this, but there wasn't enough to go off of because the shit never happened. So let's continue. There's no police reports, nothing available about this. I've even tried finding it. I tried finding it after it all happened. I tried finding it, a week ago at this point because all of this stirred back up for, again, the second time. The police department doesn't even have it. They never filed a report on it, never did anything because there was nothing to go off of. Why? Because nothing happened. So let's continue to go. switch this damn page. Little heated over this, if you can't tell. I would like to ask some of my legal friends in the audience about something like this. So, in a situation like this that is supposedly this severe, it doesn't matter if someone doesn't want to press charges. The police are going to make that ultimate decision, and then so is the district attorney. The reason I know that is I was falsely accused of this and had to go through the whole damn thing. I understood how anything could work at this point, just because I was on the other side of this. I didn't know what was going on. I had to figure it out. So, 1, there's no police report. 2, I was never held at gunpoint on anything, was never put in a police car. None of that ever happened. 3, if this was serious and if it actually happened, something would have come of this. There would be some evidence of it somewhere. And if anybody can find that report, like I said before, send it to me. I'd love to have a copy of it. So let's address my pew-pews that were in the house. So I had, at the time, 5 guns. 3 of them were inoperable. 2 of them were, one was from my dad. It was a .22, just rifle, old .22 rifle. The second one was a World War II rifle. Neither of those worked. The third one was a single lever action shotgun, like a farming shotgun, that I had gotten from my grandfather that was from like 1942. Also didn't work. I did have my own shotgun, I had my own rifle, but I also like to hunt and shoot. Sorry, it's a thing that people do. One of the things I am most upset about with this whole situation is I elected to turn those over that night to not have any future problems. Just be like, you know what? I don't feel like being accused of this again. I don't like this. Go ahead and take them. They're like, hey, you'll get them back. I never got those back. Not because there was ever any evidence of it ever happening, but because I learned the hard way. If you choose to turn things over like that, good luck ever getting anything back. And those were destroyed. I lost things from my father that night. I lost things from my grandfather that night, all over a lie. I've gotten over that, but obviously with this coming back up, it drums up a little bit of that kind of raw emotional feeling there. So we're going to address a couple of the bullet points here. Again, I didn't watch all the videos. I don't want to watch all the videos. I don't care to watch all of these videos. But there was a couple of funny topics that I'd like to discuss. So 1, it's not like me to stay out all night and do things like that. Talking about Meredith saying she doesn't stay out all night, go out drinking, all that stuff. A couple of these things I can't prove. One of them I can. It was an every weekend event where this person was out till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, completely no-showing, completely disappeared, had no idea where she was at. I'm 23, 24 at the time, an emotional wreck. I don't know what to do about it, so I just kind of sat and dealt with it. I was really, excuse my language, fucking stupid for doing that, but that's what I did. The one thing I can prove, and I'm not going to, you guys can go look this up yourself, I'm not going to just give it out at this point. I can back this up because there's a DUI from a week before we left to come to Florida where she pulled the same shit. She got pulled over at 1 o'clock in the morning driving from leaving a house party. Again, look that up in Sarasota County. You can find it. It's there. There's evidence of that. Here's something else I can't prove. It did happen, but we're just going to throw it out there. Is a couple of months to maybe a year after this all happened, I actually ended up getting an apology email from Meredith over this whole situation. She didn't have a way to contact me over the phone. She didn't have a way to, reach me anywhere else. So she emailed me on my work email. Unfortunately, I don't work with that company anymore, so I lost that email, but that did happen. I can't prove it. Maybe I can find it at some point. Here's my favorite part of all this. Since all of this has happened, we've actually been in contact with each other. We've been cordial up through all of this. We were working together on a marketing project as recent as last year, which, again, without giving too much away, working together on a marketing project for a business that I was working on that happened right before I went on the show. She is one of the people that knew I was going on the show because I had to pause working with her because obviously I've got no contact with the outside world while I'm doing that, so had to put it on pause. Also, texting me saying, hey, don't get married on that show. You know, then you and I couldn't get married. Obviously, I took that as a joke because that would never happen to begin with. What did happen, though, is when I got back from the show, I went down to Tampa, and I was with my significant other at that time. And taking a break after the show, just going and relaxing, I get a text message from her asking, hey, what are you doing in Tampa? I guess she found my location on social media or something I had posted, you know, whatever. And I told her directly, came to town for the weekend, need to get out of Charlotte after the show, wrapped up just to chill. And all the response I get is, girlfriend, got it. I'll leave you be. So there's that right there. I'm saying all of this to sum up. If any of this was true, why would somebody be in contact with you? If you were so fearful of what I had done by supposedly pointing a gun at you, would you not want to press charges? You knew where my other guns were. Would you not grab one and defend yourself? And then why would you circle back around with me and be cordial with me and you know, work with me on projects, be texting with me? We had gone to a lunch at one point. Like, I'm just as I'll say I'm just as surprised to see this all happening, just because I'm learning things about myself from these stories that I didn't even know. But two, I'm actually really not all that surprised. I know who you are as a person. I fucked up by letting you come back around. And you know what? Here's my repercussion for that. That's fine, but you're a liar. Moving forward, my legal team is going to handle this, and I've got nothing else to say. Thank you.
Them being in contact, it can prove his point that maybe what she's alleging did not happen. However, there are many instances of women who are in domestically violent relationships feeling stuck or feeling some sense of loyalty, almost like a Stockholm syndrome, even though they weren't kidnapped, when it comes to the person that they were partnered with. So still being in contact doesn't nullify the claims that she's making. It does look a little bit sus. I don't think I've seen anything come from her since he has spoken out. As I'm recording, the video that he posted on TikTok was posted 11 hours ago. Don't bother going and commenting. The comments have been turned off, okay? But yeah, it's a tough one. I can understand why he's very irritated in the video. Me personally, because of my own history, I am oftentimes inclined to believe people who expose sexual crimes, physical crimes, stuff like that. And I also do want to hear Jeremy's side as well. And if he's saying, listen, look for the evidence. Is it out there? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't know. Also, just to clarify, the absence of a police report does not mean that the crime did not happen. It just happens that there isn't a police report in this story. So we kind of got to go off with whatever evidence we're given. So I'm not in a place to say who did do something, who didn't do something. I just wanted to come and share with y'all what's been going on. We can't just always share, you know, the bad stuff about, oh, this person's ex is speaking out and this person's whatever. We should also allow the person who's being talked about to have the platform to share their side of the story. We're never going to know the full truth, but at least let's have a well-rounded, you know, view of what's going on here. So just a reminder, please be respectful, especially considering the subject matter of this video. You never know who in the comments has experienced something similar or has been accused of something similar. So just be mindful of that. The reunion is tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'm going to post it. It might be the same day. It might be early morning Thursday, but listen, we're going to have a lot to talk about. There's no doubt about that. Okay. So yeah, as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.